What if your $40 fuzz pedal could absolutely destroy a boutique fuzz 10 times the price? Today we're unlocking some awesome octave fuzz tones from the Joyo Voodoo Octave. I'm going to be showing you some of the standard mods that I did in a previous video, and then we're going to look at a super secret mod that's going to take your tone to the next level. Can we change this cheap, nasty, thin sounding fuzz into something awesome, deep and boutique? Let's find out. There's been a ton of interest in my video on the Voodoo Octave, and I actually messed up two of the caps in my original video. Someone was kind enough to point that out, so I thought maybe it's time that I revisited this thing, and let's see if I can't do something a bit more interesting. I mean, I've learned quite a bit since then, so maybe I can bring a bit more to the party. First things first, I'm going to get this all stripped down, and I've got to refinish this enclosure, because come on, I mean, it's not exactly the best looking pedal, is it? This is the Joyo Voodoo Octave, and to be honest, stock, it sounds kinda thin, but for $40 you really can't complain. I'm going to be showing you some mods that unlock this circuit's potential. I mean, after all, it's based off the Foxx Tone Machine, which is nasty, brutal and an awesome vintage fuzz. So can we bring out the Foxx Tone Machine character out of this cheap $40 pedal? Well, I think we can. And here we have our new enclosure. Well, the same enclosure, just painted. I've gone with a wolf style artwork. Seems as this is going to become sort of similar to the Foxx Tone Machine. It's the closest artwork I could get to a fox. We've gone with neon yellow and metallic blue for the burst. I haven't really aged it as such, just because I've done a lot of aged pedals lately and I just feel like not today. You'll notice I've drilled 2 extra holes here. What could they be for? Stick around to the end and you're going to find out what exactly I'm going to be switching with this circuit. I mean, I'm sure you could guess, but if you are going to guess, write your guesses into the comments section and see who gets it right. So, what do we think of our new enclosure compared to the green ram's head thing that was there before? Now on to the mods. So, some of this is going to be playing by ear. I'm not exactly 100% sure I'm going to do all the mods exactly as I say now. We're just going to go through and have a crack at it. First things first, we have C15 and C9. Now, these are polar caps, so they have a positive and a negative, and they are in the wrong way round. Great. Normally what you could do is just take them out, flip them over and put them back in if you wanted to. I'm not going to do that because I've got these. These are non-polar caps. They're 10 microfarads, 10 UF, which is the same values that's in there. They're just bigger. I'm going to fit them in, probably on the opposite sides of the board, but I'll be fitting them in anyway. What else are we going to do? Over here, we have C16. This is our output cap. This is also a 10 UF, 10 microfarad. It's massive. The idea with this being so big is just to let every signal travel through the pedal, i.e. not to do any tone shaping whatsoever. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to change it up. This one is going to get taken out and I'm going to run some wires down to the front end of the pedal and I'm going to mount one of these 470 NF tropical fish caps. Why? Because I love them. Why am I dropping it to 470 NF? That's going to shape the signal to not be quite as full range, if that makes sense, so not quite as fat. It's going to be a little bit more focused. And you may think, why are you doing that, Joe? It's going to make next to no difference, I don't think, not whatsoever. And I really don't like having electrolytic caps in the signal chain. It's not for me. I know the fuzz face does it, but I really don't like it, so I'm getting rid of it for one of them. Now also a mistake on this, and I don't know whether it was a mistake or whether Joyo actually modified the Foxx Tone Machine to try and get this sort of thing. But over here we've got a 100 NF cap, so a 0.1 microfarad, and over here we have a 47 NF, so a 0.047 microfarad. Now these are in the wrong way round. In the Foxx Tone Machine, that's the 47 NF and that's the 100 NF, but they're the wrong way round in this pedal. Great, whatever. So I'm going to take them out and I'm going to fit this 47 NF in the 47 NF position for the Foxx Tone Machine, and I'm going to fit this 100 NF in the 100 NF position. Another mod on this thing here, we have this switch. This switch takes us, basically it's a mid cut or a mid boost if you like, or whatever, and all it's doing is swapping between this low cap here and I think maybe a 47 NF cap, or maybe even a 100 NF cap, not sure. But the lower side, or the higher range side of that switch, is this 1 NF cap here. Now in a Foxx Tone machine, that's a 3.3 NF cap, so already we're well below that, which is probably why you're getting a little bit of a weedy sound out of the pedal in that position. So I'm going to do away with that, and I'm actually going to replace it for this. It's an old Erie 4.7 NF cap, so that's like an extra 1 and a bit NF more than a Foxx Tone machine, so it'll sound fatter in all positions. Great, I'm doing that. And then our switches, I'll give you the clue on the first switch because I did it in the last video. I mean, the last video will be much less comprehensive than this one because I filmed it when I was just starting out. But the last video, I took the 2 diodes out over here. These are our clip-in diodes. I took them out and put them on a switch and changed them up with some germaniums. I'm going to do that again, which is why I've got this switch. It is a 3-position switch. So in the center position, we're going to have no diode clipping. So it's just going to be really boosty and it's going to give it a massive volume hump. One side is going to be germanium, and then the other side is either going to be the exact same, 1N4, 148 diodes, or I'm going to swap them out for something else. I haven't quite decided yet. I'd like you to write in the comments what you would do if you were doing this. Would you put LEDs in there, or would you put something maybe, I don't know, maybe like a power diode, like one of these 1N4007s or something like that? I'm torn. But I feel like if I put them on the switch, it will mean that you can always have the original position in there if that's what you want. And to be fair, these diodes actually, if they weren't so cheap and readily available and used in everything, people would be searching after them because they genuinely sound good. So maybe I will put them in there and we'll search out something nice and germanium for the other side. And then finally onto the last switch. This is a 4-pole double throw, so it's an on switch. There's only 2 positions. There are 4 poles, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to wait until the end to do this mod, so I want you all to take 5 seconds now, stop what you're doing, write a comment in the comment section and tell me what you think I'm going to be switching with this, and stick around to the end and see if you're right. If you want to own this exact pedal, you'll be able to find it over on HelloSailorFX.com with some of my more boutique tagboard builds too. Thank you for buying pedals from me. It really does help keep this dream alive. Before we get into the very first mod, what you should do with all of these Joyo pedals is tape off the wires. Now these wires here, before you start messing about with it, it's better just to add some tape there because these connections are absolutely rubbish. The amount of times that I've been working on these things and had to resolder them, it's ridiculous, truly ridiculous. And also, before I go any further, I know some people are going to hate this, but I have to do it. No one uses a battery on a fuzz pedal unless it's reverse polarity. Grow up. I take that off because it gives us the space to add in the larger cap anyway, so I did need the space. And also, on the actual stomp switches themselves, you're much better to, because the glue that they put on, just it's there for show, it does literally nothing. You're better taping this off anyway. You can thank me later because when one of them wires inadvertently comes out, which it will, you'll end up chasing your tail for bloody ages. Okay, so the first mod we're going to do is actually the 2 caps that are in the wrong way round. Now all you'll have to do to take these out is wet the tip, locate them on the back of the board, which is here, put your soldering iron on and put pressure on the cap until the leg moves, and then likewise go the other direction, put pressure on the cap until the leg moves, and it'll come through. Now you have to be careful doing this because you could actually damage the board. I know, before someone tells me. I completely get that. And using the solder sucker or solder pump, whatever, desolder pump, is definitely the right way to do it. I just don't do it that way. I know I'm going to get hate in the comments, but that just seems a lot easier to me. To replace them, we're going to be replacing them with these, our non-polar caps. No other reason than it's just easier than having to think about the positive and the negative. You could flip them around if you want. That's completely up to you. I'm going to be lying these non-polar caps down or on their side, pointing towards the jacks. Why am I doing that? Well, we're using this space up here, this end, this end of the pedal for our switches, so don't want to get in the way of that. So what I will do is I'll use my flat nose snips to measure how far I'm going to go along before I bend them down, so then they're both the same length, if you like. And then just after the flat bit of the cap, I'm going to snip them. And then I'm going to snip one so it's slightly longer than the other. That's because we're going to push the longer one through first until it goes through by simply just, let's get a bit of solder on the end of our iron. Hold it up against the pad, heat the pad up, and then gently just push it through the hole. Done. Oh, I was just about to say as easy as that, but can anyone else spot what I've done? I've actually done the cap pointing towards where our switches are going to go. So that's a massive no-no. Well done, Joe, you absolute idiot. Let's flip that round so I don't do it again. Right, we want to go this way round. So then our cap is actually away from where our switches are going to go. It's the whole bloody point of shaping the cap in the first place. Oh, well done, Joe. It's been a long week. My daughter seems to be getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning again, just ready for war, basically. I don't know what's going on. She's like ready to face the world at 4. It's killing me. Not as much as it's killing my wife, though, because she actually gets up with her. Right. Let's get the second leg in there. There's one of our caps in place. Now the next one. Last time, this is what spared this video, by the way. Last time I built this pedal, it ended up going to my friend Stefan, who runs Guitar Pedal X. He did an awesome review on it. Absolutely fantastic. But I think last time I switched over this cap, the output cap, instead of this one. And no one noticed. I didn't even notice. And then just recently, someone commented on the video and said, by the way, I think you swapped the wrong cap round. And I did. So I had to refilm it. I had to make this new video just because I can't leave things like that. So, but to be fair, Stefan really liked the sound of the pedal. So, you know, was it wrong or was it just, you know, not what I intended? So either way, this time I'm getting the damn right caps, right? Look at the size of this damn solder tip. I always do it. I switch my solder tip to do tag board and stuff and then change my mind and end up doing some Vero board or some PCBs in this case. Perfect. Right, now there's lots of space here to fit this cap in the same manner. That's the beauty about having these Nip-X snips. You can just space out the bend and then bend them over, and you know that both my caps are going to be the same spacing because I've used these snips. And if you want a set of these snips or flat nose pliers, apologies, or a set of these matching snips, Nip-X are the best. Thank you, Marcus Reeves, for suggesting them. It would be amazing if you could buy them through the affiliates link in my description, because I get a little bit of a kickback from Amazon. There's no extra charge to yourself. It's win-win. And I get to use the money to buy more snips and stuff and try out new gear for then you to decide whether you want to buy it yourself. Right. So we snip them both together and then we just choose one of the legs. Doesn't really matter which one. Snip a little bit extra off that one so that then we can push one cap leg in first and then the other one in second. If you'd have them both the same length, you'd end up trying to heat 2 solder pads up at the same time. It's just not going to happen. You end up joining them together with solder, and it's a whole world of mess to try and sort that out. Right, that's not actually going through there, so see if we can get a bit of solder on there and make it happen. There we go. You can kind of feel the wire sink through the solder pad when it's going through. Now this one, well, that was easy. And I'll tidy them both up. You don't need loads of solder on these, but inadvertently I'm used to soldering tag boards, so I end up putting bloody loads on. So there's our 2 caps now reversed. And also, now when someone takes the back off this pedal, they'll be able to see the mods that I've done. It's kind of good to show you working, right? Rather than having to take it out and flip it over where there's not that much space. Next up, we have these 2 caps here. So, I got these mods completely off freestompboxes.org. Great website, and there's a thread on there. I think the guy's name was Ian something or other anyway. And he showed these mods first, not me, so I didn't trace the circuit. Now these caps, this one is a 47, needs to be 100. That one's 100, needs to be a 47. Brilliant. What we're going to do here is, I should use a solder sucker, I know, but I'm going to be a heathen about it, and I'm going to jab my screwdriver underneath here. Sounds right professional, doesn't it? Get in, Joe. I'll jab my screwdriver underneath here and lift the cap off while I'm heating up the solder pads on the bottom. So what we can see here, and this is how we're going to find the solder pads, we can see that we've got two resistors next to each other and then a cap just underneath that. So I'm expecting to see a row of 3 solder pads in line with each other underneath this pot, and then a row of 2 in line with each other, and then one reasonably close by. So flip it over, there's our pot, 1, 2, 3 for the pot, 3 in line with each other, and then 2 together and 1 right next to it. So these 2 here have to be our cap because they're at the bottom of the row of 3. So I know where I'm going there. Now, to get into this how I normally do it is a bit awkward because there's just not a lot of space around it. So if I hold it like that, see if I can heat up that and maybe jab it under. So that's lifted a little bit, which means that I can get my screwdriver under there more. And I know there's professional electrical engineers watching this now, like absolutely dying, going, what are you doing, Joe? But this is just what I've done in the past, and this is what I'm going to keep doing. I mean, I suppose best to explain that. Where it comes from, right, is I know I'm in my nice garage converted to a workshop right now, but on board a warship, to go and get the solder sucker or to go and get that equipment, it may be 5 decks away. And to get that itself, you get stopped by 5 people who go, oh, Chief, can you just look at this? Or, Chief, can you just do that? And by the time you actually get the solder sucker, it's maybe, you know, a long time has passed and the job's still not done. So the bit of kit's still broke, and that's no good. Whereas if you're in situ and you just whip a screwdriver out your pocket and you've got your portable soldering iron, I mean, you could say, why aren't you carrying your solder sucker in your pocket, in your overalls pocket? Fine, I could do. But at some point, you've got to whittle down what's in your pockets so you can actually manoeuvre around the ship, you know. Otherwise, it does get a bit ridiculous. So now there's one leg out. I can grab it with my flat nose pliers. And because I'm not trying to save this cap, well, it's literally fell apart. It doesn't matter if it falls apart because I don't want to keep it. So if you want to keep the cap, you're probably better using a solder sucker and being a bit more careful. But for me, I'm really not. I'm adding my own caps in. I feel like adding your own caps in is part of the fun, but if you haven't got caps, then, you know, what are you going to do? So C14 was our 100 NF. I did want to double check that, but yeah, there you go, 104. So 100 NF. 104 on your cap, by the way, is 100 NF. Now we can see where we're going to here. And our new cap is pretty massive. New old cap, actually, because it's an old one. But our new cap is pretty massive compared to the one that we're taking out. So we're going to lie it this way. But I'll do the same thing. And I'll just bend the legs over and lie it flat on top. So we'll give the legs a clean. And again, yes, I know I'm cleaning it with my snips, but believe me, these Nipex snips can take it. They don't go blunt very easily. So I'm going to use my flat nose pliers again, just to measure out where I'm going to bend the legs and stuff. So I'll bend this leg over because the spacing of this cap is much larger than the spacing here. So all I do now is I lie one leg over a hole. A hole? Well done, Joe. One leg over the hole there, so then that lines up. And then where this leg intersects the hole I want to go into, I just put my flat nose pliers there and give it a bend. And now the legs are the right spacing to go in where I want them to go. So I can just take my snips, bend the legs over so that then they are 90 degrees. And you're probably better using them one so you don't cut through the ends of them. I've just been doing it for so long that I just do it the way that I do it. One leg longer than the other as ever, because when we are slotting them in, it's just easier. It just is. And I don't know whether these legs are actually going to go through these holes. So if it doesn't, I'm going to have to solder to the pad, which is not ideal, but I do want to use this cap. So needs must. We'll wet the tip. And now the moment of truth, because the thing with Joyo is these pads are so small as the holes. Oh, it will go in. Look at that. if you work on something like a Boss PCB, and especially one of the older ones and not the SMD ones that they use now, it's really amazing to work on because the solder pads are so strong and so big that they're just like a joy to work on, whereas these Joyos, not so much. Although they're not the worst solder pads I've ever worked on, I've got to say, I can't even remember who was the worst, to be honest. But these definitely aren't. There we go. Now I'm just going to go ahead and tidy up them solder joints. The kind of tack soldered in place there. It's not the best joint I've ever done in my life, I've got to say. But the cap's sitting off the board, because you don't want it lying on top of the board, obviously. Well, not that it would really make too much difference, but it's better to have it off the board a little bit. And there's 3 of our caps changed. Now we're on to our 100 NF. I'm just going to go ahead, and I've dropped a bit of solder there when I was removing the cap. I really don't want that to get in the way later on. So now our 100 NF is going to go in this position over here. Now I think that I could possibly fit that straight in because the leg spacing. So I may do that rather than having it on that side. But then again, I do like to know that the cap is visible when someone takes the back off, so you can see what work I've done to the pedal. There's no secrets here, obviously. I'm making a video. I know some people goop their pedals or do all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff to try and hide the fact that they modified it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this 47 NF cap, get that out the way. But to get to it, I'm going to remove this 1 NF cap that we are indeed changing as well. So it makes sense to get that one out the way, and then I can work on this one, get it out the way, and then we can come back to that. Here's where a wise man learns from someone else's mistakes. So I fit this cap first, and it turns out that the 47 NF cap that I'm going to fit next is right underneath where I lay this one. Brilliant. Well done, Joe. So I've had to lift this out the way to be able to get these 2 caps out, the 1 NF and the 47 NF out. It does mean that I'm going to have to mount my 100 NF in its place on the upper side of the board, just because otherwise it's not going to fit. So if we snip it so then our legs are fairly short and snip one slightly longer than the other, we can just probably fit these straight from the top down into the holes, just by, if I wet the tip, just by adding a little bit of solder to it. I know I could solder sucker these holes before anyone says it. In fact, I think that one might actually just go straight in. Let's have a look. There we are. Good. There's one leg in, and the next leg should just line up perfectly because it is the right spacing cap for the right place, which almost never happens when I'm building because I like to use all the stupid sized vintage components and stuff. There's my 100 NF cap fitted. Now let's get on to the last cap underneath. Well, the next cap underneath, which is C1. It's our 1 NF cap. So I removed this bad boy, if I can ever get it. This tiny ceramic cap. It's a 100 cap. 100? Yeah. Anyway, there's a 1 NF cap. We removed that, and I'm replacing it with a 4.7 NF cap, which is this one. This is made by Erie. It's an old one. I got these in a batch ages ago. They test okay. They sound okay. And to be fair, it's nice and small, so it's going to fit in here nicely. And I'm going to fit it standing up on the upper side of the board. Actually, that's probably a bad idea, isn't it? If I fit it on the upper side of the board standing up, it may, let's just see, it may foul the top. If I measure it there, I'm going to have to make it sit lower than that, or fit it inside it. Nah, I'm going to fit it on the underside. If I fit it on the top side, it's going to foul the enclosure. So that ain't happening. One leg's longer than the other. Let's bend them over. The legs on these are super thick, but the connections where they go into the bodies aren't like the most amazing. So just be wary of that while you're doing it. Now this goes in So there's our 100 NF cap, that's where that goes in. Then there's a resistor, I think it's R3. Then there's this cap, and then a resistor. So let's just double check that. 100 NF cap, R3, this cap, and then another resistor. Yep, spot on. So we know where we're going. The question is, can we get there? Right, I'm going to use my flat nose pliers to hold it, because this is where I burn myself 50,000 times. And then I have a dilemma when I'm editing it, or whether to edit it out and stop myself looking like a tool or not. And inadvertently, I always leave it in. Now just a bit of manipulation to get the other leg to line up. I know it would be a million times easier if I'd have just sucked the solder out of it and then I could just poke them straight through the holes. I get it. But I just do it this way. I feel like I'm justifying myself in this poorly, and I'm going to keep doing it all the way through the video. So there we go. Right, now a quick solder. Get some clean solder on there. So what have we done so far? We've switched out C9 and C15 for non-polar. We've changed C14 from a 100 NF cap to a 47 NF cap mounted under the board. We've changed C3 from a 47 NF to a 100 NF cap. Of course, you can just swap them caps around if you wish. We fitted that this side. C1, which is a 1 NF cap in this pedal, and a 3.3 NF cap in a Foxx Tone Machine. Well, we've changed that for a 4.7 NF cap, and all that's going to mean is that in the mid-cut position on this switch, no, it's not the mid-cut position. What is it called? Let me have a look. So you've got normal and mid-cut, right? Okay, so one position is going to be fatter, and the second position is going to be thinner. The thinner position, instead of being 1 NF, is going to be 4.7 NF. And if anyone's ever built a Rangemaster or anything like that, that should make a healthy bit of difference. Now, next up, we're going to take out C16 and we're going to replace it with 2 wires. The wires are going to come out, and they're going to come right the way out to about, that much longer than this. And I will mount the cap on the inside of this board, right up against this sponge here. I'll put some double-sided foam there. I'll mount the cap up against it. We'll use some steel reinforced epoxy. That can stay in there, and then we'll just join them wires to it. Simple enough. So let's get this cap out. I mean, you don't have to do this. You could leave this bit in. In fact, you don't have to do any of these mods. I would love to know if anyone has other mods that they've done to this Joyo pedal that made it sound good. I've seen someone do like a blend mod between the octave and the normal signal, like on a switch. So you switch the switch, it engages a pot, and that just blends between the octave part and the normal part. That would be fantastic. But to be honest, I couldn't be bothered drilling any more holes after I drilled the 2. Maybe I'll do another video in the future with that in. We are at the end going to be comparing this pedal to one of the original Joyo pedals, unmodified, just so we can get a right gauge on whether it makes much difference. So our wire, just going to do 2 healthy lengths of wire. I'm not really going to measure it. As long as they're going to reach the cap, I'll be happy. I am going to heat shrink them. It's not going to matter which side attaches to which side of the cap, because the cap is non-polar. So I will just heat shrink these bad boys to keep them together. Part of me didn't want to redo this video because it's like, I've done it before, no one's going to be interested. But there seems to be a real resurgence in interest in that Joyo mod video. And I wasn't really the best at filming at that point, so I figured why not have a cracker doing the mod again and see if I can improve on it. I'd love to know whether people think that if I've improved on it or not, or whether I've just rehashed an old video. That'd be interesting. I'm sure there'll be someone on there telling me how wrong I am. I do like it when people tell me I'm wrong. Why wouldn't you go in there? I tell you what might be easier is I've got these massive long length of wire. I don't need that. I only need a tiny bit to get through the pad. That was indeed my battery dying on my camera. Cheers, camera. Let's solder both of these on the other side. Just give them a touch up. And snip off the excess. There's no need to leave that hanging about. There we are. Now, how much heat shrink do I need for this? You don't have to heat shrink this. I'm just putting it in there just to keep them together, because I'm going to be running a few other wires coming from this board for a few other mods. First of all, the diodes, and then our super special massive switch mod. It's not going to be that super special, to be fair, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Now for the heat shrink, I am going to use a lighter. I know people get bent out of shape about it and tell me to use a proper heat gun. I have got one. My wife bought me a heat gun, but I'm so used to doing a lighter finger. Again, force a habit of being on board and not wanting to travel around the ship and try and find a power supply. Oh God, let me tell you, on board a ship there is that much different power. So you'd have 115 AC, 240 AC, 440 AC, and it's just, you know, you inadvertently you're working in the depth or the bowels of the ship, and there's never any power there. It's just a nightmare. So I'm not going to bother. I just use a lighter. There's that. Next up is our diodes. Now, if you're going to try and reuse these diodes, you want to be a bit careful with them. I'm not going to try and reuse them because I've got loads of them. So I am just going to manhandle them out. And I don't even know whether I'm going to put this style in there again, to be perfectly honest. I may well go for something a bit more high powered, or I don't know. I think with the middle position being open with no clipping diodes, I think I don't really need something high powered, because we've already got the kind of, you know, actually you only need 2 holes here, because we're running 1 wire from each of these to our switch. So really I could just snip them off rather than trying to pull them out, and then run our wires from the 2 front holes here. No problem. Now this time the wires are going to come from the top of the board, because our switch is on the top of the board. Where are we going from? We're going to go from these 2 here, and it's just going to go straight up to our switch, but I'll give it a healthy bit of a length of wire. I've got loads of this stuff, and it's not that expensive actually. If you check out the link in my affiliates links, you'll see that they're rather cheap. Oh, actually, I've done that completely wrong. Look at that. So I was just about to take one wire from here and 1 wire from here. They would have both been connected together. I actually need to take 1 from this end and 1 from that end. So that would have been a massive mistake. Well done, Joe. I'm glad I spotted that. Otherwise the clipping diodes would have done absolutely nothing, and I'd have been chasing my tail thinking the switch was faulty or whatever. That would not have been fun. But it also means that now, like an absolute tool, I've left a bit of wire inside there, so I'm going to have to try and push it out the other side using the wire that I'm going to fit, which is not the best way of doing it, let me tell you. Especially as this is stranded wire, so it's just matted itself up perfect. Brilliant. Well done, Joe. Right, let's take 2. I'd love to say that I'm going to edit that bit out so I don't look like a knob, but I'm not. Right, this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten this wire out so it's like, well, flat, and then I'm going to snip half of the actual strands out, so then a wire's thinner. Now I've done this in the past and people have said, oh, you're changing the capacitance of the wire or whatever. Well, actually it doesn't really matter. Look at your component legs they're using. Some of these small resistors, tiny legs. That capacitor's got massive legs. It's really not going to make a difference in this. I have, of course, used plenty of systems on board where capacitance is like the difference between landing a shell on someone or on a friendly, so you can't change it, or knowing whether there's a fire in a certain component or not, a certain compartment, sorry, or not. So you really can't mess about. But in a pedal, come on now, let's be serious. Does it really make that much difference? I am going to say no. Right, let's tin this one. Maybe it would make a difference in something like pickups, I wonder. Next time I speak to Stu from Sunbear Pickups, I'm going to actually ask him. He'll know the answer to that one, definitely. Right, so there's our 2 wires for that. Now, our switch is literally going to be sat here, maybe that side. So it's not going very far. So to hold them 2 together, I'm just going to get a tiny bit of heat shrink and just wrap them around. That'll just remind me when I'm wiring it all in, once it's all in the enclosure, and I'm just looking at a massive black wires. At least I know that these 2 are going to the same switch. Oh, I've run out of gas in my lighter. Perfect. Maybe that's why you should be using the heat gun, eh, Joe? Done. Perfect. So that is all of the mods that I've stated so far that I was going to do. Next up is going to be... oh, well, I'll tell you what. Do I wire the diodes in now? No, next up, I'm going to go through what we're going to do for our super secret, amazing mod. And I want to know, after this, did anyone guess it right in the comments? So if you've commented on the video saying what you think the mod's going to be and you got it right, please rewrite on your comment and let me know you got it right, and I'll take your word for it. Now it's time for our super secret mod. Not that much of a secret and not that super. Come on, Joe. Right, what we're going to be doing is we're going to take Q1 out, our first transistor, which is the input transistor. It's where all the character of the gain starts. We're going to take that out and we're going to put it on a switch. And we're going to change it between either this transistor, I'm going to try and save this one and use it again, so you can have the normal operation, or I haven't quite decided. I'm going to measure this transistor and I'm going to choose whichever one of these 3 is most different. So we have a BC183LB, very nice, woo, fuzz face stereo there. We have a CDIL, which also make the some transistors for the MOD, or they did in the past. BC108C, woohoo, that's nice. Or an even nicer, and I'm really hoping I get to use this one, a BC109. I think they're going to be higher gain. I haven't used one for a very long time, but this one's made by RS Components. Happy with that. So I hope it's that one, but we'll see. What we're going to do next is I will go and remove Q1. I will, obviously, if you look at the PCB, we can see that the shape of the transistor is drawn on there. So I'll be able to measure this and get the pin out, so I know which way round the transistor is going to go. But we'll be able to measure this transistor, see what its forward voltage is, its HFE, its forward voltage. What am I talking about? See what its gain is. I'm still talking about transistors in my head. Still talking about diodes in my head there. So we're going to see what its gain is, its HFE, and then we'll go on from there and we'll choose whichever one of these is going to be the most different. So I've just took a step back from this, went for a cup of coffee and had a little think. Now, looking at the Foxx Tone Machine circuit, Q1 is much more like a buffer, or like a boost that boosts into Q2. So with that in mind, my thinking is that Q2 will make more difference to the tone, or to the distortion character, because I think that's where most of the distortion is created. So I have indeed removed Q2 and I'll be switching that one, not Q1. Interesting fact. I mean, you could change all of these for whatever you like. It's completely up to you. Bearing in mind that it will change the character of the pedal. I have changed it for 3 different colour wires, and that's because when we get our pin out, there's no way I can mess this up now, because the 3 different colour wires, I'll write down which each one of these is supposed to be, and then that way I can't mess it up. If you're building fuzz pedals or gain pedals in general, or just pedals in general, you're going to want one of these. It is a Peak Atlas DCA 55, and it's what I use to test all of my transistors. And hopefully this transistor is still good, so we can get a pin out I mean, I could Google or use ChatGPT or something like that to get the pin out. But you know what? You just never know. I like to be able to see it in front of me, you know. It's like a physical, there you go. You've tested that exact transistor that come out of that exact spot, and we know which way it's going. So we can see it's an NPN silicon. Yes, we know. It gives us our pin out. So red is the collector in the middle. That's a nightmare. It means that we have to cross over some legs on our other transistors. Whatever. Green is the emitter and blue is the base. Fine. What we want is our current gain. 278. So that's kind of average for a silicon NPN transistor. I'm going to guess that our BC183 is going to be probably around there, or maybe a bit less. I don't know. As I say, I haven't used any of these for some time now, so I can't actually remember. I think maybe the BC108 and 109 are going to be more than that, but we'll see. So it's an NPN silicon. Our pinouts, the collector is in the middle, so if we use this one, we won't have to mess with the pinouts. It'll just fit in. That'd be nice. And the gain is 310, so 310 HFE. So that's different. It's not that different, but it's different. Now our BC108 we'll test next. Go in number order, shall we? What would you do? Would you try and add something germanium? Or what are you going to do? If you're modding your pedal, what transistors are you going to add in for your mod? It'd be interesting to see. Right, so this one is 514. So there's a hell of a lot more gain in our BC108. And I'm definitely going to choose that over the 183. I'll save that 183LB for the fuzz face. It's a great fuzz face transistor there. That's what I bought them for. Let's try the BC109. Part of me wants to just use this because it's an RS components one, and I really like the look of it. And I don't think I've actually used the BC109 ever. And this one is 285, so I won't be using that. I'm going to be using the BC108. So now, to get our pinouts right. First things first, I'm just going to solder in. I'll tell you what else. I find it really easy just to put my switch through the actual enclosure when I'm working on it. Probably through there, because then you can get to it, you know. This is going to be a stretch for this one to reach all of these legs, so I may have to extend the legs on it just because they were so short. But what I'll do is I'll take the legs and I'll just bend them outboard, and then we can run maybe a component leg from the edges there. Now let's think about this. The little line in our thread, I want to be pointing up, so that way round. So that means that down is going to be our normal transistor, and up is going to be our higher gain one. That's what we want. So that means that if I push that switch down, it engages this side of the switch. So I'm going to have to fit our transistor to this side. Doesn't matter which way round I put it. I'm going to have to monkey around with the pinouts of the other one anyway. So I'm just going to tack solder. I know that's not a real thing. It's like a tack weld only with solder. This middle leg on there. There. Now while that's in place, what I do want to say is I want this to go straight up and down. I don't want it hanging over the edge because there isn't enough room inside our pedal to have that happening. But what I will do then is I'll just take a sturdy leg from something I've used before, poke it through the holes, and then just point it upwards. We can solder that in. And then all we have to do is manipulate it around with our Nipex snips, so then it touches the leg on our transistor, and we can just solder that in place too. Saves trying to do some gymnastics with the small transistor leg, trying to like get real close to the tag on the switch, solder it in. You know, you'd end up burning the transistor or ruining it. And now that we've got one leg in, we can actually go to the middle leg and just resolder that and give it a proper joint. That'll do. Oh, it's a bit messy, but whatever. Let's tidy it up. I can't leave it. Well done, Joe. Still a bit much more soldered on there than I'd like, but what am I going to do? So then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for our last leg, which really could probably meet this this tag if I squeezed, but I don't want to put it under any undue stress for literally no reason really. Solder that on there, and then solder it into the tag. And then all we have to do is clip off the excess. I'm actually going to fix that joint there. I can't leave it there. Now, with our switch in that position, we are actually engaging this transistor. So if we put our tester onto these three center pins, with the switch in this position, we should be testing this transistor, he says. Right, so NPN silicon, and we get a, I've gone past the pin out, brilliant. Red is the collector, which is the center. Okay, so let's just let's draw this out. Have I got a pen? Not really is the answer to that. Not really. Right, so got a silver pen, that'll do. So if we look at our transistor, it's facing that way. Can you see that? I can see it, that's the main thing. It's facing that way. So we've got our collector is the red one, which is in the middle, collector. Our blue is the base, which is on the right hand side. And then our our green, which is on the left hand side, is our emitter. So it's emitter, collector, base. Now if we go over and have a look at let's do this without pulling any wires out. If we have a look at this drawing on here, if we sit orientated that way round, it's the same way round as our transistor now. So we can say that the emitter is going to be our blue wire, the collector is going to be our black wire, and the base is going to be our red wire, because these two should marry up exactly like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw another drawing here to show which way round our wires are going to go. So it's going to be blue, Joe H5, black, oh that's terrible, both beginning with B, well done Joe, BL for black, and then red for red. That way I know that the base is going to be the red wire, the collector is going to be the black wire, and the blue wire is going to be the base. No, emitter. Ha! Oh, I was thinking of 7 different things at once there. So now comes the important bit. So we know that we've got our emitter collector base with this. We have to test our BC108 to get our pin out for that. We're going to have to cross 2 pins over. Fine. I've made peace with that. Before I turn the transistor tester on, because it's running out of battery, so I don't want to spend too long looking at it, and I haven't got a battery. Brilliant, well done Joe. I'm just going to take a little bit of wire from or sheathing off our wire, and that's going to go over one of the legs when we cross over the legs, just so then they don't short out. So if we turn it on, it's telling us we've got a low battery, thank you very much. Who knows, maybe with all the Amazon affiliates that I make this this episode, I'll buy myself a battery. Look at that. Right, so red is the base, green is the collector, and blue is the emitter. I think that the emitter is going to be the one that isn't crossed over. So if I line that up, so then that's on the same side as the emitter, which I know is the left-hand side because of my drawing. Blue, emitter, left-hand side. Good. The red is the base, and I know the red needs to be on the right-hand side. And the green is the collector, and I know the collector needs to be in the middle. So these 2 pins here need to swap around for our transistor to be in the right way round. So if I just bend them round, so then the center pin comes round the bottom and the outside edge pin comes in there. And now all I have to do is take our little sheathing and put it over our center pin, which is our collector. There we are. I know that the pinout is 100% right there. So all I have to do is slide them in. I know the emitter is the one that isn't crossed over, and that's the one on the left hand side. I can see the emitters on the left hand side. Great. I know that the collector's in the center and the collector has been bent over and is in the center. Just double check these things, because if you put this in the wrong way, you know, it's no good. So I can solder all of them in. So now when I run my wires to this switch and the blue attaches here, the black goes in the middle and the red goes here, I know that when I switch this, the pinouts are going to be the same. Fantastic. So now it's time to get everything back in the enclosure, and then we can run our final wires. Oh, actually, that's a lie. I'm telling a lie. Look at that. Because we still have this switch to sort out. Now this switch is our diode switch. So our diodes are here. This is the two diode wires. They're just going to run to the two center tags here. It doesn't matter which way around they go, because it's symmetrical clipping, which means it's the same on both sides. I'm just going to put that to one side so I don't forget it. Now, I'm going to go and get myself a set of 4148 diodes for one side and maybe something germanium for the other side. Got our 4148s for one side, and we've got my last two Russian, or Soviet actually, not Russian, Soviet era germanium diodes. Sad to see these go, but they're the last ones, so we might as well use them. Now, I'm just going to clean the legs on these ones. Handily enough, these have got actually markings on them to tell us which way round they go, which is great, because otherwise we'd be flailing in the dark trying to figure this bad boy out. So if we look at our diodes here, we can see that there is a picture of a diode. That's the actual symbol of a diode on a drawing. And same again on this one. All we have to do is match them so then they are facing in opposite directions, i.e. the little triangle on the top, can you see that? Is facing in different directions. I'll put a picture on a screen of it anyway. And they are facing in different directions. Perfect. That means that we can join them together. And all I'm going to do is just wrap one round the other. For now, that'll do. Like so. And then if we solder them in place, I mean, these are going to stick out quite a fair bit. I might have to do some manipulation to get them to miss all the other components that are inside. Oh, why won't that solder? Made a right hash of that bad boy, didn't I? Because I'm too busy trying to talk. Hold on. Yeah, to get them to miss all the components on the inside of the pedal, because that's going to sit here, and of course they're going to stick out. So I want them to stick, really, I want them to be at the bottom, so that then they avoid everything else. So with the little line pointing upwards on this pedal, I want them to be at the top. So I'll put these in this top bit here. I'm just going to poke them through and solder one end in. If you're not confident that you can't drip solder on your work, by the way, it's probably best not to do this on top of your pedal, but I'm a little bit cocky and I've been doing this for some time, so I pretty much know I'm not going to drip solder on there. And then I'm going to put my leg cutting through the hole. If I can ever get it in there. And then I'm just going to solder that in. Wouldn't it be funny if I drop solder on the top of the pedal now? Right, so there we are. And now all I have to do is join them two together to make the circuit. Now for our normal diodes, all we do is the black lines need to be facing in opposite directions. So then we know that we're clipping each half of our signal If you're wondering about this, I've done this loads of times, gone through that. All you need to do is the helicopter method, which I've also done loads of times in my other videos. I won't go through that now. And just give it 1 or 2 twists. That'll do. And then give them a solder. Again, diodes really don't like that much heat, but you do need to get a good solder joint, so don't be scared, but don't hold it on forever. It's a feel thing. I always say it. It's a feel thing, and you kind of get used to how much heat you can put in things. And you also get faster at working the more you do it, so the best thing you can do is pick up a soldering iron and start going now. Now I'm just going to bend them in on themselves and give them a snip, and I should be able to put them through like so. Don't worry, we're not going to leave them in this position. I'm just going to solder them in and then I'll manipulate them. There, and that'll sit that way round in the pedal. That might actually foul the top. I may have to adjust that, but we'll see. Next, I'm going to get this back in the enclosure and we'll crack on. Right, everything in place now. We've got all of our controls in. I did go with the big metal washers that I always use. We've got our transistor switch and our 3-way clipping switch in place, ready to go. I'm going to save the transistor switch wire until last, just because that's the most scary. And we'll go ahead and fit these two. Oh, I've also fitted our tropical fish cap with a bit of double-sided sticky foam and some steel reinforced epoxy. So we'll do that one first. And it's literally going to be a case of running a wire around like this, attaching one to this end and one to the other end. Quite simple. I'm going to go ahead and attach them now. Personally, I think the Joyo pedals are great for the money. They're fantastic. They're a great bass to mod off, and they do use some pretty decent components considering the price. Are there any other brands that you think I should be using as a bass for my mods? Is there any pedals that you'd like to see on the show? Please let me know and I'll be happy to carry it out. Soon we've got a Boss SD9 coming from my friend Dan. I cannot wait to get stuck into that. Thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing. I can't believe we're at 7,000 subscribers. 7,000! Wow, I didn't think there was that many pedal geeks in the world. So thank you. Our tropical fish cap is now in place, good to go. Doesn't matter which way round you add them wires because it's non-polar. Same with our diodes. We're going to take these 2 wires here, if I can get them. Oh, look at that, how confusing. The black wire from our transistor is like literally flying over them. So these 2 wires here, doesn't matter which side we go to because it's symmetrical clipping. So I'm going to go ahead and just get them in now. Now for the fun bit, the bit that I'm most likely to mess up. We can see that if we have our transistor this way round, with the flat side facing towards us, we have our emitter collector base. You can see that? Emitter collector base. Well, that means that the blue goes to the emitter, which is the left hand side, the black to the center, which is the collector, and the red to the base on the right hand side. So first of all, blue. I'll just take my blue wire, which is here. I'm going to run it round the front. I'm going to run it round the front or over the top and drop it in. I'm going to go over the top and drop. Choices. So it could go round the front and drop it in or over the top. In fact, I'm going to go the opposite way round because this wire is going to overlap all of them tags where I'm going to want to solder into. So that was a bit silly. We're going to go with the red wire going into the base, which is the right hand side. So this is our first one. And remembering that there's 4 poles here, so don't go to the far right one because that's not connected to anything. I mean, we could have added an LED to say which way round this thing was set up in, but I think for this one that was just one too far. It's meant to be a beginner mod for the cheap fuzz pedal, so I don't want to go too much into it. I was trying to avoid doing much drilling in this one because I think that's the one thing in mods that puts beginners off is actually drilling their pedal. I don't know why, but I suppose if you're not used to drilling them. Right, so now back to our drawing board, we can see that black goes in the center and that connects to the collector. There's our black wire. Let's move our transistor out the way a little bit if we can. I don't want to bend it too much in case I break it. Again, that would be pretty devastating at this point. I'm really hoping this is the last little bit and it's just going to work first time. No pedal ever works bloody first time, so we'll see. And then lastly, I know it's the only wire left and the only tag left, but we'll still check it. It is the blue wire on the left going to the emitter. And as they say, check twice, cut once and all of that. Right, that should, he says, be us. One thing I do want to check is that we're not going to foul the enclosure when I put this in. I don't think we are. Yeah, I think we're below it. Maybe they're not, but we can bend them down. Yeah, I think we're good. We'll test the pedal with it off and then we can always put that back on and test the pedal afterwards. And now it is, of course, time for the sound sample. We'll be putting the modified Joyo Voodoo Octave against the original. Let's see how it sounds. I want you to take particular note to the noise floor and the EQ. They were the two things that I really wanted to change with this pedal. And I think the difference is remarkable. Please excuse my playing. I'm definitely not a guitarist. I am an engineer. If you've spotted any mistakes or you know any mods that I could have done to this pedal, please let me know in the comments and maybe we can do another episode on a Joyo Voodoo Octave. Okay, so you're going to hear the modified Joyo Voodoo Octave against the original Joyo Voodoo Octave. They are both true bypass, so it doesn't matter that they're in line with each other. Only one will be on at any given time. For the modified version, we've got the original transistor set up at the minute and we've also got the original diode set up. For the purposes of this test, I'm going to leave everything set out between 1 and 2 o'clock. It'll all be done with my Melody Maker, mainly because it's my favourite guitar, and why not? So, here's my clean tone. Now, the original version in the mid-cut setting. Now the modified version. Now we're going to go through to the normal setting. Does it clean up? Don't know. Not really, but a little bit better. Mid-cut setting, and now I'm gonna, in fact, we'll do mid-cut setting on both. We'll do the normal version first, mid-cut setting, and then we'll engage the octave up. I mean, there's a marked difference there, isn't there? I mean, I know it's deeper sounding, and that's because we put that 4.7 NF cap in there. But what else we got? Let's see what it sounds like when we start messing about with the clipping section and with the transistor selection. So this is with the BC108. What happens if we turn the fuzz all the way up, give it some volume? Let's turn everything on full for both of them, and neck pickup. I actually prefer that. Wonder if we change the dial, the transistor back over, if it'll zoom. Yeah, with the original transistor it sounds better. I actually prefer that sound there. Then when you start banging the tone up, much prefer this one. Oh, okay, background noise there. Background noise there. There's a marked difference in the noise as well, which makes it much more usable. Overall, I'm really happy with the mod. I'd love to know what you think of my modified version against the normal version. And remember This one is going to be available at hellocellulareffects.com. Thank you for watching the video thus far. It blows my mind that people actually make it through my terrible playing. If you've made it this far, please comment Voodoo Child in the comment section to let me know that you made it this far. If you enjoyed this video, you're going to absolutely love this video where I conduct some mods to this very pedal.